I was recently posed with the question, can cherries boost your workout and sport performance? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. But there's a lot more to unpack about these incredible superfoods, so let's get down to it. Cherries contain vitamin C, anthocyanins, and polyphenols, all of which are powerful antioxidants that help reduce inflammation in the system and in the body. Here is how it helps with workouts. When you're doing beefcake workouts, regardless if it is a chest workout or a back workout, or you're doing deadlifts or bench presses or Turkish get-ups or snatches, I don't care what it is, you're building up inflammation in your system. Yes, it's beneficial to tear down muscles and have them rebuild and regrow and get bigger and stronger, and that is the idea of weight training. However, you accumulate inflammation as well. If you are inflamed, you're not going to be able to work out at a high intensity every single workout, and that's what you want to do because you're going to have soreness, you're going to have stiffness in your joints, and all these other things are going to happen. By eating cherries, you help reduce that inflammation. That is going to allow you to work out at a higher ability every single time you work out, and it's going to expedite your recoveries between sets and between exercises and the days in between your workouts. So, absolutely, cherries help benefit that situation. Now, let's talk about the other benefits of cherries. You've got this thing called gout out there, which is a form of arthritis. You gout sufferers out there know exactly how painful it can be when you have a certain beverage or a certain food and you have a flare-up on your big toe or your knee or your knuckle on your hand. This is an autoimmune disorder that has no cure for it and no explanation really, but it just happens out there. And one of the things that has been well researched on helping and being beneficial is cherries. Cherry juice, tart cherry juice, cherry powder, and actual cherries themselves. I would highly suggest getting yourself into some cherries, putting them into your diet as much as possible all the time, and see how your body reacts to it. The worst that can happen is you're going to get a good amount of fiber from the cherries, and you're going to get some more vitamin C, you're going to get a little immunity boost. And speaking of which, that's the last benefit I want to address. Because they're high in vitamin C and the anthocyanins and the polyphenols, you're going to get an immunity boost when you consume cherries, which is going to help reduce your risk for getting the simple cold and anything that's associated with chronic disease as well. So you've got a battery of benefits involved with cherries, which I highly recommend you eat and integrate into your diet. The next thing I want to talk about is how I like to actually utilize the cherries, and then we're going to talk about a practical application example of how I use them as well. Let's now address the actual preparation of cherries. The easiest thing to do when you're eating cherries is just grab them by the stem and eat them. But before we get there, I have two things I want to talk about. Notice it says organic on the package. I always go organic. Even if you don't believe in organic, I personally do, and I try to go as local as possible. I want my food to be as minimally processed as it can be and have the least amount of junk on it as possible. Now I know in organic farming they do use a little bit of pesticides and chemicals, but it's 10,000 times less worse than your conventional produce. That is what I believe, and I know for a fact because I visited some farms, so don't try to fight me on that one. Anyway, I still wash them because I don't know what kind of grubby fingers or hands were on the packaging of my cherries, and I don't want grubby germs on my cherries. So I wash them anyway, even though they're organic. Now, you can take a knife and you can sit there. If you don't just eat them and you want to use them for a dish, which I'm going to show you one of my favorite things in a minute, you're going to have to cut them with a knife and you're going to have to empirically pop the seeds out. That is a little bit of a pain in my opinion. So I came across this handy little cherry pitter last summer and it's been a lifesaver. And I didn't even know these things existed till last summer. I've always heard about them, but I've never seen them in person. The way it works is this. You have this little tray, see that? And it's got 6 little, I guess I'd call them compartments on there with holes in them here. And it sits comfortably inside of this right here. And what you do is you take the stems off your cherries and you lay them inside here, and it does 6 at a time, and you put them right, the center of the stem, right where the stem was, in the center of these little droplet holes. Then you just simply put this on top and you press down on it and it pops the pits right through the bottom. Now, I prefabbed 6 cherries right here. I washed them. You just simply take the stems off like this. I throw them in the disposal or the garbage can. And then you carefully place your cherries in these little grooves, again, with where the stem one's laid in the center. That's very important. You don't want them to be sitting at an angle because it's going to miss the stem and it's going to jack up your cherries. And even when you do it this way, sometimes you get a couple in here that don't quite hit the mark and you have to finagle them a little bit. And I have a trusty knife next to me and a spoon. Okay, so if you can see that, hopefully you can. Actually, I'll just take it out. See how they're laid in there? Okay, now they're sitting upright. They're relatively square. gonna put it back in. That one's a little crooked. You make sure to put this in nice and square, and make sure your cherries are perfectly upright. And then you press down here, boom, just like that, like a machine gun. And then you lift this up, and I see 1, 2, 3, 4. I know 4 cherries went through. There's 5. Usually I hit about 4 out of 6, and that's a good day. And there's the 6th one right there. Boom, my cherries are done. Just like that, one quick fell swoop. And there you can see the pits in there. And I wouldn't suggest putting the pits in a garbage disposal. I would just take them and dispose of them in a waste can. And once you're done deep hitting your cherries, immediately just do a quick rinse on your tools, because they will stain if you let them sit for a long period of time. Just a quick rinse with some hot water, and then you can actually put this thing in to your dishwasher, or you can just clean it empirically. That is stage 1. Now, I want to talk about one of the recipes that I use cherries in. Aside from just eating cherries as they are, I also like to add them to smoothies. I like to add them to smoothie bowls. I mix them into this cottage cheese Greek yogurt concoction that I make. I like to add them to salads. And perhaps the most fun and interesting thing that I like to do with them is I add them to this amazing keto gel that I found by a company called Simply Delish. It looks like this. This is actually black cherry flavored gel. They call it gel, not jello. It's a healthy alternative to jello, I might add. It's sugar-free. This is actually high in probiotics as well, so it helps boost your gut health. It has 0 grams of sugar and 0 grams of net carbs, and this whole container is 15 calories. Cherries, I might also add, are high in fiber by themselves, and they're low in calories themselves, and they're also low in the glycemic index. So a really good treat for me is mixing up a batch of this, chopping up the cherries, putting them in here, whirling it all together, putting it in the fridge, and enjoying every delicious bit of it. In this case, to prepare this, you need to put 1/3 of a cup of water into a bowl, and then you open your package, shake it to get all the contents to the bottom, you rip it open, you throw it in here, and then you stir it up with a spoon, like so. Slow and controlled is the name of the game, right? Just like we're doing kettlebell presses. And you want to mix this with a spoon easily and quickly until the contents are equally distributed through there and it's got an even consistency. You might see a little bit of clumps here and there, but that's going to be resurrected when we go to the next phase, which I'll show you in a second. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's a pretty dark hue already. Maybe I'll fit it. Well, you probably can't see it, but trust me, it's a dark color. It looks just like these cherries. Now, I will actually cut them. So I usually cut them into quarters. I go this way, and I just plop them in there, like so. Okay, now the preparation is ready, and it looks like I murdered someone over here. It looks bloody, because the cherry juice looks very dark, like blood. And now, maybe you can see that, maybe you can't. Hopefully you can. See that? So I got the cherries chopped up in there. I've got my black cherry gel composition ready to go. Now the next phase is 1 1/3 cups of water go back into this cup. I put it into a pot like this one, bring it to a boil, and then you dump it in, you stir it, and you let it sit. The whole process takes about 5 minutes. Let's get down to the boiling. Here we are, 1 1/3 cups of water. I'm gonna put it into my pot. Turn it on. And watch the magic happen. You don't literally have to stand here and watch it boil, but I promise you it doesn't take that long. What I do suggest is, once you turn that on, do some exercise in your kitchen. Stand on 1 foot like this for about 30 seconds. You can even put your hands in a prayer pose. And then alternate back and forth. Actually, that's a great idea. Do some yoga. And then you could reach your arms overhead like this and stand on 1 foot and practice your balance. Stretching and balancing at the same time and working on your core strength. Or you can walk in place and burn some calories. Break into a warrior 2, crescent lunge, whatever. It's completely up to you. Just make yourself busy while you're waiting for that to boil. And you can also just simply do nothing and read a book. But I prefer movement because it's a lot more fun and it's a lot more beneficial for the body. I'll meet you back over there at the bowl. Looks like my water has now come to a boil. Now remember, when you're boiling water, always turn the handle inward like this. We don't want to combine and trip and knock it over. and dump it on ourselves because it will hurt really badly. I'm just gonna shut this off. I'm gonna grab it with my left hand because I'm right-handed. We come to our bowl. We slowly pour it in. We mix as we go along. And voila! The stage of prep is over with. And again, this takes about 5 minutes for the whole process, if that. So once you finish, ideally, you leave this sit on the counter for maybe 5 or 10 minutes, let it set up a little bit, and then put it in your fridge. But I have found that you can just go right from here to the fridge and just put it in there, and it's ready to go in probably 20 minutes or so. But the longer it's in there, the colder it's going to be, and you want it to be ice cold. I actually like to use organic whipped cream on the top as well. Believe it or not, whipped cream is a great complement to a lot of dishes, especially desserts, even keto ones, because it's not really high in calories. It's like 15 calories for 2 tablespoons, and I mean, that's a good amount, and you don't need a ton of it to flavor things. So once this is all prepared and done, I put a little whipped cream on there, and I sit down and I enjoy my dessert. There you have it. That is the Big 411 on cherries and a practical application that I use them in. I would suggest eating them, like I said, just as they are. Put them in salads, put them in smoothie bowls, smoothies, throw them in oatmeal, put them in cottage cheese concoctions. Make some Simply Delish gel, and you don't even need to have the black cherry one. They have a bunch of good flavors as well. This just happens to be one of my favorites because it has probiotics in it. And remember the benefits: good for boosting immune system, good for inflammation, good for post-workout recoveries, good for gout, and all around good health. If you have any questions or comments, give me a shout, and make sure to like and share this video, and also subscribe to my channel. Until next time, this is Kevin David Rail reporting live.